Morning. Let's start the current affair discussion. The first topic is the role of parliamentary committees. India being a parliamentary democracy, so for smooth functioning of the system, so there we have parliamentary committees. Okay, so committees in the parliament called parliamentary committees. Okay, which perform different role. During the course of the 17th Lok Sabha, only 14 bills have been referred to the for further examination so far. As per data for the PRS, and literally 25% of the bill introduced are referred to the committee in the 16th Lok Sabha, as compared to 71 and 60% of 15th and 14th Lok Sabha respectively. This represents a declining trend of national legislation being subjected to expert scrutiny. What the committee do once a bill is introduced in the parliament, it is referred to the committee, and committee consists of specific MPs, and they can invite expert from outside for the expert opinion. Okay, but the present government is not referring the uh, bill to the committees attached to different ministries. So this is what this is somehow criticized as a reduction in the parliamentary that expert opinion on legislation due to the sheer volume of information and scale of operation that the Indian Parliament is required to undertake. It is not feasible to take of all issue on the floor of the House. The detail of the bill is not possible to be discussed in the parliamentary forum or at the floor of the parliament or respective house. So it is not feasible to take all issue on the floor of the house. Thus, parliamentary committee panel made up of MPs are constituted to deal with such situations and take up sector specific concern. Contrary to popular perception, looking into bills is not the only purpose that the committee serve. We tend to underestimate their relevance, not realizing the sheer magnitude of the effort that goes into making Parliament a dynamic, functional space where members converge every few months and debate on matters that are concern of the nation. Behind every such speech, every comment, and every bill introduced or taken up for discussion, like the ceaseless work of various committee that deserve a announced pursue a perusal if we are to understand how the highest platform of multilateral dialogue in India is brought into life. So, committee of parliament consists of MP from different background. All MP are not in the ruling party. They may be MP from the opposition. Okay, and even the parliamentary committee can invite experts who are not even member of the parliament to get their opinion on the specific subject matter mentioned in specific bill. Because the reason is at times the MP may not find it that capable to handle the technical aspect of the bill, and that is why when the bill is referred to the committee may invite experts from outside to get their opinion on the specific clauses of the bill or the provisions of the bill, and after getting the expert opinion, the committee recommend the bill. If there is a change that is recommended to the parliament by the committee, that means if the bill introduced the parliament is referred to the committee, so better deliberation took place in that case, and that is why so the provisions of the particular bill is better dealt in this particular way. That is why this is the major issue, okay, or the major function of the committee system in the Indian Parliament. Fine. The evolution of the committees, even though a structure committee system was only established in 1993, parliamentary committee standing committee attached to each a ministry or different ministries standing there called the standing committee. We have three constitutional committee, the public account committee, committee on estimates like that, and the business advisory committee. But apart from that, in 1993, a committee system was formalized in Indian Parliament where each ministry or departmental they are both known as the departmental standing committee.
So like the department standing come to home ministry, defense ministry, finance ministry. Okay, and so they consist of members of parliament. Apart from the minister and the ruling party MPs, the opposition party MPs also find their place in those committee, and a detailed deliberation on the provisions of the bill is normally made by these committees. These committees make a detailed deliberation, and on the basis of deliberation, they suggest to the parliament regarding the provisions, or if any change required, the committee suggests it to the particular house or to the parliament. That is why the expert opinion of the committee is taken into or given importance by the parliament. Fine. Even though structure committee system was only established in 1993, individual committee were being formed for various reasons as far as that independence. For instance, five of the many crucial committee of the constitution are worth to mention here. The ad hoc committee on citizens clause, as the name suggests, was formed to discuss the nature and scope of Indian citizenship, because when the Citizenship Act was added. Two other very significant committee were the Northeast Frontier Assam Tribunal Tribal and Excluded Area Subcommittee in 1947. The Excluded and Partial Excluded Area other than Assam Subclass Committee in 1947. The former chair by the SN Bardoli covered the Naga, Khasi, Garo, Jaintia, the Mikir Hills, and the collected a survey of people's lives, experiences, and demand, beliefs, and customs. It took all the status of the land and forest, local government and courts, finance and taxation, making its report invaluable for determining the status quo of the region and bestowing rights and privileges accordingly. Because the committee constituted regarding the northeastern states and Assam, etc. So they committee make a detailed review by collecting all informations, consulting the local experts and and the people who are closely involved in the development of these regions, and that is why the committee have done invaluable work. The letter is characterized by Jaspal Singh Munda, a minute of the dissent with regard to scheduled area in the Chotnagpur Plateau. A towering Adivasi leader, Munda objected to the exclusion of Manbhum, Hazaribagh, and the Palamau district from the ambit of the report. It claimed that all the witness has been emphatic that all six districts in question must form a consolidated territory for the purpose of scheduling, not just for administrative region but also to protect the interest of the 1 lakh 47,000 14 lakh 79,485 Adivasi inhabiting the three excluded districts from the veto of the Tribal Advisory Council. Okay. Uh, so, A.B. Thakur, the chairman, took note of the minute but concluded that it lacked merit and the award of the Boundary Commission is untenable. Okay. Unalterable. Then there was the Expert Committee on Financial Provisions of the Indian Constitution, December 5, 1994, which is responsible for giving recommendation to the Union and the provincial tax collection, central excise duty, liquor revenue, divisible pool of income tax, sharing of the proceeds among the provinces, residuary powers, and the institutions of the Finance Commission and the Auditors General, among other things. The Advisory Committee on the subject of political safeguards of minorities, chaired by Sardar Patel, look at the abolition of reservations of religious minorities. So, in essence, committee have been doing monumental work since the unveiling of independent India. Today, both the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha have their own standing committee and ad hoc committees. There are also joint committee with representation from both the houses. The role of the committee go into the details by specific piece of legislation, analyze the impact it may have on governance indicator, and then make it their recommendations. The government is required to table an action taken report for the House to judge the progress made on the suggestions of the committee. Once the committee gives the suggestion, the government or the party in power, the ruling governments must give a action taken report, what action it has taken as per the recommendations or suggestions given by the committee on the specific bill referred to it. Even though committee reports are not binding on the government, it helps the legislature ensure an oversight on the executive. For instance, during the recently concluded budget session, report tabled on the demand for grants highlighted certain inconsistency on the part of the government. The Committee on Rural Development and Panchayat Raj in its report noted that the revised estimate always falls short of the budget estimate. More importantly, the actual figure are also way less. That means, especially Manrega allocation and other allocation rural development ministry are reduced. That is why the committee expressed concern. Okay. In 2022-23, the Ministry of Panchayat Raj has been able to spend only 701 crore out of the allocation of 905 crore approximately at the revised estimate stage. Such objective assessment are only possible in the confines of the committee room, where partisan divides dissolve to make way for consensus. Because the parliament normally, due to the political party, opposition party, ruling party, this that discontent among them, so much hue and cry is created without finding any solution. The alternative scenario, that is discussion on the floor of the house, involves glaring camera most parliamentarians to perform as per their respective party lines and vote base. There also exists the Business Advisory Committee, which prepares the entire schedule of both the houses when parliament is in session. Interestingly, paper laid on the table of the house have a whole committee dedicated to them. So the seemingly insignificant few minutes at the very beginning of each sitting, which are utilized to lay said paper, are actually backed by well-oiled machinery of the members called the committee members. Each individual paper is prepared after a careful and often long-drawn process of deliberation, writing and screening. A lot goes into the functioning of parliament, and the committee shoulder a big chunk of that responsibility of preparing the detail of the things before it is presented in the parliament. So this there lies the importance of the committee. Current progress. One of the most salient work done by the committee in recent years is on the Digital Data Protection Bill. Beginning in 2017, in the wake of the Putaswamy judgment that recognized privacy as a fundamental right, Justice Sri Krishna Committee was formed and tasked with preparing a data protection framework for India. It presented the final 166-page report in 2018, covering everything from data processing and storage to right and enforcement, on the basis of which the Personal Data Protection Bill 2019 was tabled in the Lok Sabha. It was referred to another committee, this time a joint parliamentary committee chaired by P. Chowdhury, whose report came out in December 2021, following which the bill was withdrawn. The new draft data protection bill was introduced for public consultation in November 2022. See, the committee objected to many of the provisions of this data protection bill. That's why the government has to withdraw it and introduce a new bill in 2022 November. In each iteration, the committee insights have not only been invaluable but also formed the very basis of what is possibly the single most crucial legislation for a growing economy in the digital age. Several important laws, such as the Prohibition of Child Marriage Amendment Bill that seek to raise the legal marriageable age of the women to 21 years, passed recently, because recently government decided to increase the marriageable age of girl from 18 to 21. The Anti-Maritime Piracy Bill that brings into enactment the UN Convention Law of the Sea for UNCLOS for combating piracy in the high sea. The Jan Vishwas Bill that amends 42 law across sectors like agriculture and media. The Wildlife Protection Amendment Bill that extend the scope of protected species, the Competition Amendment Bill, Electricity Amendment Bill, the Criminal Procedure Identification Bill, and the Multi-State Cooperative Society Bill have all been referred to the committee, but their number is very few in comparison to such committee reference made earlier. Another important mandate of the committee is to go into issues that are crucial for a national building standpoint but not hold as much as political significance. Okay, so the bill, when it is referred to the committee, because the committee consider both members of the ruling party and the opposition, so they decide in the national perspective without taking the party or political party consideration as is being done in the parliament. Example, defense shipyard. These shipyards are not a primary pool issue. However, it is extremely important to develop this capability for safeguarding the security of the nation. While next to no question have been asked in the Lok Sabha on defense shipyard, the Public Account Committee highlighted several concerns logging the same in 2015 report, including but not limiting to audit finding about inadequate shipbuilding practices, frequent and mid-course changes, delay in installation of the weapon package, and an underestimation of the cost by the shipyard. Because all these are not discussed in the parliament, because neither the parliament has the knowledge nor parliament want to discuss the security issue in the parliament house, but the committee in camera meeting in closed door was able to locate these discrepancies or limitations
and reported it. The road ahead in the US, committee play a crucial role and bill are referred to them post introduction for security need. It allows changes to be made and the modified bill to go for voting. The Parliament could consider a compulsory referral for the bill that are tabled on the floor to the appropriate committee. Arming them with more powers will help them ensure accountability from the executive instead of making them toothless tigers. It is essential for the parliamentary ecosystem in India to institutionalize such procedures and not allow political consideration to hasten lawmaking. Because no, because of the ruling BJP being in majority, it is able to bypass the parliamentary committee and directly introduce the bill and pass in the parliament. This is one can say hegemonic behavior the ruling party where it don't want to involve any other political party in scrutining the bill. But this is a very tested and very positive role to play the parliamentary committee. The government should consider to send more and more bill to the parliamentary committee for better discussion, deliberation, and getting the expert opinion on these things. Okay. Then the magnitude resistance. Researchers in UK led by Nobel laureate Andrew James have discovered another property of graphene, a single atom thick layer of carbon atom bonded in a honeycomb pattern that further distinguishes this wonder material. Researchers found that graphene display an anomalous giant magnetoresistance GMR at room temperature. The GMR is a result of the electrical resistance of a conductor being affected by magnetic fields in adjacent materials. It is used in hard disk drives and magneto-restrictive RAM in computer, biosensors, automotive sensor, microelectrical system and medical images. GMR-based devices are particularly used to sense magnetic fields, and new study have found that a graphene-based device, unlike conventional counterparts, would not need to be cooled to a very low temperature to sense these fields. What is GMR? Figure 1 unlisted C. This is what? This is figure 1, this is figure 2. Okay. An illustration of the circumstances in the GMR appears. The big arrow indicates the direction of the magnetic field. FM stands for the ferromagnetic material, and NM stands for the non-magnetic material. Okay, see, this is what. Okay. Say conductor is sandwich between two ferromagnetic materials, commonly metal attached to magnet like iron. When the materials are magnetized in the same direction, the electrical resistance in the conductor is low. When the directions are opposed each other, the resistance increase. This is GMR. The magneto-resistance observed in the graphene-based device are almost 100 times higher than that observed in other known semi-materials in this magnetic field range. The effect is due to the way electrons in the conductor scatter for electrons in the ferromagnets depending on the orientation of the latter spin, which is affected by the direction of the magnetic field. Conventional GMR devices are cooled to low temperature to suppress the kinetic energy of their constituent particles, keeping them from deflecting the electrons moving past them. In graphene, the researcher found this suppression unnecessary. This is what. So, advantages. Why did the study find? What the study found? In this study, the magnetoresistance in monolayer graphene is 20 degrees centigrade. Held between two layers of boron nitrate increased by 110 under a field of 0.1 Tesla. To compare the magnetoresistance, these conditions increases by less than 1% in normal metals. That is the achievement. Okay. The term attributed this to the presence of neutral plasma and the electrons mobility. Plasma is usually a gas of charged particles. Plasma stage is another stage of matter. But in the experiment, the plasma consists of equal number of thermally excited electrons and holes. A hole is a site where an electron is supposed to be but is not, thus behaving as if it is positively charged. The researchers has done the graphene to have as many electrons as holes. As a result, the total charge of this plasma is zero, which is desirable because it stifles an effect that comes in the way of the GMR.
Figure 2, the resistivity of mono layer graphene used in the study versus the magnetic field strengthens. Second, the researchers used an extremely clean setup and graphene without any defects. The electrons in the neutral plasma were not scattered by vibrations in the atomic lattice either. Together, the electrons in the material had anomalous. Okay, a hole is at the side where the electron is supposed to be put is not, thus behaving as it is positively charged. Researchers has turned the graphene to have as many electrons as hole. As a result, the total charge of this plasma is zero, which is desirable because it stifles an effect that comes in the way of the JMAP. Figure 2 of the magneto restrictive of the monolayer graphene used in the study versus the magnetic field strength. Second, the researchers used an extremely clean setup and graphene without any defects. The electrons in the neutral plasma were not scattered by vibrations in the atomic lattice either. Together, the electron in the material had anonymous high mobility at room temperature. Okay, the new things regarding the monolar graphene, bilayer graphene, and the graphite, and their new discovery, how they are going to benefit the technology. Figure 3 is schematic diagram showing the placement of monolayer graphene and the hexagonal boron nitrates layer. A graphene based GMR device cannot replace existing devices because the latter have other properties that the former does not. For example, as magnetic field are applied and removed, the conductor's resistivity in the two types of devices evolve differently. It is possible that it will be used in novel appliances that require magnetic field sensing in extreme conditions. What is graphene? It is a two-dimensional form allotrope of carbon that consists of a single layer of carbon atoms arranged in a hexagonal lattice. Graphene have been described as wonderful stuffs of being the strongest metal ever tested, among 300 times stronger than steel. It is also the best heat and electricity conducting material to be discovered. It also became a valuable aid in filtering water. Researchers from Australia announced recently that they use a graphene based product to make a water filter that can make high polluted seawater drinkable by just one pass. Okay, passing it to once, make those highly polluted seawater to potable water fit for human drinking. That is a new revolution. You can say water that water being very scarce commodity right now. So it will be possible on the part of the human civilization to find clean water from the seawater and use it. Fine. Then the Jupiter Ice Moon Explore JUICE. The European Space Agency (ESA) is all set to launch the Jupiter's Ice Moon Explorer or JUICE mission from its spaceport in French Guiana on an Ariane 5 launcher. Ariane 5 the rocket of European Space Agency. Planned to reach Jupiter in 2031, the mission aims to carry out detailed exploration of the solar system's largest planet and its ice moon, which is potentially have habitable environments. The mission Juicy have been constructed by the industrial consortium led by the Airbus Defence and Space division of the Airbus Group, responsible for the development of and manufacturing the corporation's defense and space product based on the parameter provided by the European Space Agency. Only two other spacecraft have ever examined Jupiter: the Galileo probe, which orbited the gas giant between 1995 and 2003, and Juno,
which was been circulating the planet since 2016. Notably, by the time JUICE reached Jupiter, another spacecraft, NASA's Europa Clipper, would already be orbiting the planet. Scheduled to be launched in October 2023, Europa Clipper would arrive at Jupiter in 2030 and aims to study its Europa moon. So, Europa is the largest moon of the Jupiter planet. Fine. What is the Jupiter Ice Moon Explorer mission? The JUICE will make detailed observations of the giant gas planet and its three large ocean-bearing moons, the Ganymede, the Callisto, and the Europa, using remote sensing, geophysical, and instruments. Scientists for quite some time have known that these three moons of Jupiter possesses ice crust, which they believe contain ocean of liquid water under Earth, making them potentially habitable. JUICE will help probe this water body by creating detailed maps of the moon surface and enable the scientists for the first time to look beneath them. Although the mission will examine all three moons of Jupiter, Ganymede, the Callisto, and Europa. Okay, the main focus will be on Ganymede, as it is the largest moon in the solar system, larger than Pluto and Mercury, that planet, and the only one to generate its own magnetic field. Jewish, which will move to Ganymede orbit after approximately four of arriving at Jupiter, will use its suite of 10 sophisticated instruments to measure how Ganymede rotates, its gravity. So, what it will monitor? It will monitor how the Ganymedes rotates, its gravity, its shape and interior structure, its magnetic field, its composition, and to penetrate its ice crust using radar down to depth of about 9 kilometers. This is the use of this particular focus of this mission will be on these things. Fine. Another primary goal of the mission is to create a comprehensive picture of Jupiter by trying to understand its origin, history, and evolution. Scientists believe that this could help them provide much needed insight into how much a planetary system and its constituents are formed and evolved over time, as well as revealing how possibly a habitable environment can rise in Jupiter-like system around other stars. This will also analyze the chemistry, structure, dynamics, weather, and climate of Jupiter and its ever-changing atmosphere. Is this capable of detecting life? Other three moons, Ganymede, Callisto, and Europa, are believed to hold immense amounts of water, which could be around 6 times more than the volume of water in Earth's ocean. There is a possibility that life is present on them. According to European Space Agency, life on these moons could be in the form of microbes. More advanced species might also be present, like the one we detect in deep sea trenches and at hydrothermal vents on Earth, such as various kinds of coral, worm, uh, mussels, shrimp, and fish. They might be existing in the that satellite of Jupiter. Okay, like the Ganymede. However, Juicy is not equipped to detect life, but it is capable of finding out whether these could be places around Jupiter inside the icy moons where the necessary conditions such as water, biological essential elements, energy, and stability to sustain life are present. According to scientists, if life exists on these moons and that is very hard to access, this is because it is not yet possible to go very deep underneath the ice crust where life might be present. Fine. Then the next, the Rentec category of industries, Solar Energy Corporation of India gets Miniratna category 1 status. And what about the Solar Energy Corporation of India? It is a central public sector enterprises which are incorporated in the year 2011. The the Solar Energy Corporation of India is the primary implementing agency of the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy for renewable energy schemes projects towards fulfillment of the India's international commitment. Criteria for Mahatma status, so this is called as a Biniratna category. Having Navaratna status, listed the Indian Stock Exchange with the minimum prescribed public share under the SEBI regulations. An average annual turnover more than 25,000 crore in the last 3 years. Average annual net worth of more than 15,000 crore in the last 3 years. To be Maharatna means Indian MNC.
An average annual net profit after tax of more than 5,000 crore within the last 3 years, should have significant global presence or international operation, because they'll be getting flexibility in independence in decision making. They can take their own decision, expansion, foreign acquisition, opening foreign branches, foreign takeover. They have been given independence. Career for Navaratna status, the CPSU which are Mini Ratna 1, Schedule A and have obtained excellence or very good MOU ratings in the 3 of the last 5 years are eligible to be considered for grant of Navaratna status. Upgrade, like Navaratna upgrade to Maharatna, similarly Mini Ratna upgrade to Navaratna. Grant for Mini Ratna status, Mini Ratna category 1 status, the CPSU which have made profit in the last 3 years continuously, pre-tax profit is 30 crore or more in at least 1 or 3 years and have a net positive growth. Nitana category 2 status, CPSU which have made profit for the last 3 years continuously and have a positive net growth. Minatana CPSU should have not defaulted in repayment of loans, interest payment or any loan due to the government that have taken. They must not be defaulter at all. Minatana CPSU shall not depend upon budgetary support for government guarantee, because they are owned independently, they are financially strong, they can handle their own finance and they don't depend on government or the budgetary allocation for their requirement. Fine. Then the next topic is language friendship bridge project. India is planning to create a pool of expert in language spoken in countries like Myanmar, Sri Lanka, okay, Uzbekistan and Indonesia, to facilitate better people-to-people exchanges. The Indian Council of Cultural Relations has envisaged a special project called the Language Friendship Bridge, which plan to train 5 to 10 people in the official language of each of these countries. As of now, the Indian Council of Cultural Relations (ICCR), this is what is this is the Indian Council of Cultural Relations, has zeroed in on 10 languages: Kazakh, Uzbek, Bhutanese, Ghoti, Burmese, Khmer. Okay. Okay. And then the Khmer, Cambodia, Thai, Sinhalese and Bhasa, spoken both Indonesia and Malaysia. In India, the language learning focus will now have been on European languages like Spanish, French, German, along with the languages of the major Asian economies like the China and Japan. Though a number of universities and institutions offer courses in these languages, only handful teach any of the 10 languages of the ICCR list. The cultural body is in discussion with universities and institutions as well as expert offering foreign language courses in the country on the modalities of implementing the project, because knowing foreign language will facilitate our interaction with these countries. ICCR, Indian Council of Cultural Relations, it is an autonomous organization of the Government of India involved in Indian global cultural relations through cultural exchange with other countries and their people. It was founded in 1950 by Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad, the first Education Minister of India. The Council addressed its mandate of cultural diplomacy through a broad range of activity in addition to organizing cultural festivals in India and overseas. The ICCR financially support a number of cultural institutions across India and sponsors individual performance in dance, music, photography, theatre and visual arts. It is also administered the Jawaharlal Nehru Awards for International Understanding, established by the Government of India in 1965, whose last award was given in 2009. And also, if you can see, ICCR on a student exchange program, we allow many foreign students to study in Indian universities, okay, from the friendly countries and underdeveloped countries. And similarly, our students also go to foreign countries to study on the scholarship. So this is what our culture disseminated, promoted and patronized by the ICCR in and outside the country. Right. Then coming to the question answer, what are the key challenges facing India's tourism sector and what are some potential solutions to these challenges? Introduction to regime is a significant contribution to India's economy, accounting for 9.2% of the country's GDP, employing over 80 million people. Okay, tourism. Okay, so you can say the introduction can say tourism is a significant contributor to India's economy, accounting for 9.2% of the country's GDP and employing nearly 80 million people, just twice the population of New York. India's rich cultural heritage, diverse language, landscape, and hospitality make it an attractive destination for tourists. However, despite its vast potential, India's tourism industry faces several challenges that hinder its growth potential. Key challenges: inadequate infrastructure. India's tourism infrastructure, including airports, highway, public transportation, is inadequate and often outdated. Many tourist destinations lack basic amenities such as clean water, sanitation facility, and healthcare services. Additionally, the lack of tourist-friendly infrastructure such as well-placed signboards and tourist information centers make it challenging for visitors to navigate and explore India's tourist destination. Safety and security concern. India has been grappling with safety and security concern for tourists, particularly women tourists, and there are many instances where they have been attacked, killed, molested, and even robbed. That created fear psychosis among the tourists in general and women tourists in particular to visit India. Okay. Incident harassment and violence against tourists have been reported, leading to a decline in tourism in recent years. The lack of robust law enforcement system and inadequate security measures at tourist sites and accommodations are significant concerns. Inadequate marketing and promotion. Effort of Indian tourism industry suffer from a lack of effective marketing and promotion efforts. The government's promotion campaigning are often limited to cultural heritage tourism and overlook other potential tourist attractions such as adventure tourism, medical tourism, and ecotourism. Additionally, the industry lack coordination between stakeholders, leading to fragmented marketing efforts. Lack of skilled manpower. Another major challenge facing the tourism sector in India is the lack of skilled manpower. The industry requires skilled professionals in various areas, including tour guiding, hospitality, and travel management. However, there is significant shortage of trained professionals, which affect the quality of services provided to tourists in other destinations because small countries like Maldives, like Singapore, they are able to attract much more tourists than what has been done by how much is attracted to India. This proves that although the big potentiality, but the lacuna what we have discussed. And one more thing, the number of Indian sites in the UNESCO Global Heritage List, because foreign tourists are attracted by looking at the UNESCO World Heritage List, but India has very few sites. Okay, and in comparison to other countries, some states like Odisha, you can see such a treasure-full state have only one site, the Sun Temple at Konark in the heritage list. This is what. So this also is another means discouragement to the tourism sector. The potential solution to the challenges facing India's tourism sector. Government support. The Indian government has taken several initiatives to promote tourism, including the Swadesh Darshan scheme and the Prasad scheme. Prasad scheme create infrastructure, so this doesn't promote tourism. These schemes aim to develop tourism infrastructure and promote tourism in specific region of the country. However, more needs to be done to address the infrastructure and safety concerns. Public-private partnership. Public-private partnership can play a crucial role in addressing the challenges facing Indian tourism industry. PPP can provide necessary funding and expertise to develop and maintain tourism infrastructure. PPP can also facilitate better coordination between stakeholders and promote innovative tourism product and services. Sustainable tourism practices. Sustainable tourism practices can address the challenges facing in India's tourism industry while preserving the country's cultural and natural heritage. Sustainable tourism practices can help minimize the negative impact of tourism on the environment, conserve natural resources, and promote responsible tourism. Because tourism should not be promoted at a cost to environment, ecology, and the climate. And also, so that is why right now we are trying to promote responsible tourism, because our golden beach, the water body, the forest, the ice caves. Okay, so and that nature natural tourism scope, the health tourism scope. Okay, we have adventure tourism scope, eco tourism scope. Okay, all these, and even tourists like we have government of India has on the this circuit, the Gandhi circuit, the Ramayana circuit.
All these have been launched by the government to promote tourism. Special package to have been run by the Indian Railway also. So although government is running all these things, but much more need to be done because India has a big potentiality, and if it is properly explored, so the tourism generation of revenue from tourism from foreign country will be much more. The Indian government and the tourism industry stakeholders need to adopt sustainable tourism practices, including ecotourism, community-based tourism, and responsible tourism to ensure the long-term sustainability of the industry. Okay, that means if the sustainability for a sustainable tourism, so the effort should be definitely coordination among all the state government, central government, and other stakeholders. Okay, and their true participation will definitely, you can take an example in the remote area of the Nayagarh district in Odisha. So the tribal are given a responsibility of managing an ecotourism hotspots, and they're able to generate crores of rupees because the tribal manage the entire tourism mechanism there, and including the hospitality management is according to the local villages, and they will manage it, and it will be attracted and liked by the tourists, even foreign tourists. Okay, such examples should be set around the country, and health tourism of Kerala should be promoted in other destinations. Okay, adventure tourism scope is much more in Odisha. Okay, so all these things need to be promoted in a coordinated manner by the concerned stakeholders. Okay, conclusion India's tourism industry has immense potential, but it faces several challenges that hinder its growth. The challenges facing the industry are multifaceted and require a comprehensive approach to address them. The government, tourism industry stakeholders, and the public need to work together to overcome the challenges facing the industry. The potential solutions discussed in this paper, including government support, PPP, and sustainable tourism practices, can play a crucial role in addressing the challenges and ensuring the long-term sustainability of the Indian tourism industry. There is a big potentiality, coordination, cooperation, with the stakeholders, the state government, the central government, and the different stakeholders. If they coordinate in a comprehensive manner and responsible tourism is promoted, so India can change its own image globally as a hotspot of tourist destination, and it will also generate huge revenue and employment for the country. Fine. Then coming to the MCQs, graphene is frequently in use recently. What is the importance? It is a two-dimensional material and has good electrical conductivity. It is correct. It is one of the thinnest but strongest metal tested so far. Correct. It is essentially made of silicon. It is wrong. It can be used as the conducting electrodes required for touchscreens, LCD, and organic LEDs. So 1, 2, 4 are correct. Answer is C. The reference to the parliament in India, which of the following parliamentary committees scrutinize and report to the House whether the powers to make the regulations, rules, sub-rules, bylaw, etc. conferred by the Constitution or delegated by the parliament are being properly exercised by the executive within the scope of such delegation. So it is the Committee on Subordinate Legislation. So answer is B. Committee on Subordinate Legislation perform all these duties. Which of the following are criteria with reference to Navaratna classification in India? We have Miniratna, Navaratna, Maharatna. Okay, an average annual turnover of more than 20,000 crore during the last 3 years. Okay, an average annual net profit of tax more than 5,000 crore in the last 3 years. Okay, choose the correct using the, so it is both 1 and 2 are correct. Then with reference to the language friendship bridge project, consider the following. The project will create a pool of experts in languages spoken in countries like Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Uzbekistan, Indonesia to facilitate better people-to-people exchanges. The project will implement by the Indian Council of Cultural Relation in an autonomous organization of the Government of India under the Ministry of Culture. So here it is not correct. So 2 is not correct. Okay. Okay. Then question 5. With reference to Jupiter Icy Moon Explorer mission, consider the following. The Jupiter Icy Moon Explorer. Uh, ନେଇକି ଚାଲନ୍ତୁ ସେଇଟା ପାଇଁ କଣ କରିବା ହେଲାଣି ତ ନେଇକି ଚାଲ ସେ ପ୍ୟାକିଂ ଫ୍ୟାକିଂ କରିକି ନେବା ଦେଖିବା ହଁ ଯଦି ମୋତେ ଭିତରେ ସବୁ କରିଦେବା ଦେଖିବା ଚାଲ ସେ ଗଦି ଫଦି ଲଗେଇଦେଲେ ହେଇଯିବ ଚାଲ ଗଦି ଫଦି ଲଗେଇଦେଲେ ହେଇଯିବ ଚାଲ ସେଠି ସେ ଗଦି ସାଇଡରେ ଦେଇକି ତାକୁ ନେଇଗଲେ ହବ ଚାଲ ସେଠି ଚାଲ ଦେଖି ଆଉ କୋଉଠି ଏତେ ଆଣିବୁ ଲଗେଇବୁ ଏଠି ସେ କୋଉଠୁ ଆଣିବୁ ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ଖବରଟି କାଗଜ ଗୋଟେ କିଣି ଗୋଟେ ସେ ଯୋଉ ମଣ୍ଡଳରେ ବଡ ମୋଟାଟେ ନେଇ ମୁଁ ନେଇଯାଉଛି ମୋ ପାଖରେ ଅଛି ମୋ ପାଖରେ ନେଇଯାଉଛି ଠିକ ଅଛି ତୁ ପଳେଇ टेंशन होना जब मोबाइल से बड़ टच में नहीं मारिबी तू आसे मोबाइल अच्छो ଯଦି ଅଧିକା ଦରକାର ତୋର ନାହିଁ ମୋବାଇଲ ଗୋଟେ ହିଁ ଅଛି ନଥାଏ ଗୋଟେ ନହେଲେ ଗୋଟେ ନେଇ ଆସ କାଲି ଗୋଟେ ପାଇବନି ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ନେଇ ଆସିଥା ହାଁ ସେ ଯୋଉ ଆମର ଯୋଉ ବହି ଦୋକାନରେ ଗୋଟେ ଯୋଉ ଆମ କାଲି ଡାଇରୀ କିଣି ବାପଟେ ମୋ ପାଖରେ ଅଛି ମୋ ପାଖରେ ଗୋଟେ ବଡ ବଣ୍ଡଲ ଅଛି ଆସିକି ମୋ ପାଖରେ ଅଛି ଆ okay so towards the end, so the Jupiter IC Moon Explorer is an interplanetary spacecraft in development by the European Space Agency. It is right. So towards the end of the mission, JUICE will focus solely on orbiting Dynamite, the that the satellite of Jupiter. Ganymede is the largest moon in the solar system. So all the three are correct. 1, 2, and 3. Then 6 with reference to Europa Clipper mission, often mentioned in news, consider the following. It is an interplanetary mission in development by the NASA comprising a lander. A spacecraft is being developed by the study the Galilean moon Europa through a series of flyby while the orbit around the Jupiter. So it is only 2 is correct, but 1 is incorrect. Fine. As the following statement regard to UN Commission on Population and Development. The Commission is composed of member states elected by the Economic and Social Council for a period of 2 years, 4 years on the basis of geographical distribution. It meets every year since its establishment. Question number 7. Only one is correct. So every year it is not meeting regularly. Fine. Good Friday Agreement is between Good Friday. It is between the Ireland, Northern Ireland, and Britain. B is the right answer. Ireland, Northern Ireland, and Britain. Good Friday Agreement. Fine. Then 9. Recently, Income Tax Department notified cost inflation index for current fiscal beginning with reference to above said index. Consider the following statement. The Confederation Indian Industries notified under the Income Tax Act 1961 every year. The so what is this cost inflation index CII? The CII is used to arrive at inflation adjusted purchasing price of assets so as to compute taxable long term capital gain. So these both 1 and 2 are correct. Number 10. So, consider the following statement with reference to protection of plant variety and farmers' right authority. It is a statutory body, correct. Members of authority are appointed by the central government, correct. It promotes development of new variety of plant and to protect the rights of farmers and the breeders. So, in this also 1, 2, 3 are correct. This way, you see our discussion is over on the development of the day. So, keep on watching regularly to update yourself. Thank you. Come on, sir.